Welcome to Over the Falls podcast with myself, Dave Lewis, Med Rendell, and Luke Dukes-Jones. This week, we sat down with Chris Rees, who is one of the founding members of the addiction support group Sober Ninjas. Chris talks about the work that they do to help people in need and his own journey and battles with addiction and coming out on the other side, which is a totally honest account and inspiring story. We hope you enjoy, and if you do need any help or advice with addiction, search Sober Ninjas on Facebook and get in touch. Of the Sober Ninjas, Chris Rees, welcome to the show.
Hi guys.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. I'd like to start there if we can. So can you tell us a little bit about Sober Ninjas and what you guys do?
Sober Ninjas is a Facebook group I started about 6 years ago. It's quite a small community of about 2,000 of us globally, so there's members from all around the world.
All right.
The reason I started it is I was in a sobriety group on Facebook to start with in my early days of sobriety, but I found there was just too many rules. You couldn't do this, you couldn't talk about this, you couldn't really get to know the people there.
Is that Facebook rules?
The group that I was in's rules. So everything had to be on topic, so everything had to be about addiction. And I was getting told off a lot for swearing, because that's another thing that I was doing. But so after, you get to know people and you want to get to know them on a more personal level.
Yeah, sure.
So I was getting told off all the time. So I thought, right, sod it, I'll start my own group. And luckily it's grown from there.
Good.
And the only rules I have in my group is be nice. And that is it, simple. If you can't be nice, then you can go and look for a different
Do one
group.
sort of thing, yeah.
We know we're all adults, so what I didn't like about the other group is you felt like you were treated like a child sometimes.
Okay.
You can't do that, you can't say this, you can't do this. So by starting up my own group with no rules, it worked.
It's not. I tried to look at it. We couldn't go in to have a look at it. So it's a closed group, isn't it? You've got to be invited.
It's a private group.
So for that reason, you can talk openly and
that's
just.
It, yeah. So whatever goes on in the group stays in the group.
Nice.
Because there's a lot of personal issues that you talk about in the group. Because obviously it's not just addiction we talk about. It's the reasons why some of us became addicted. Because nobody wants to grow up to be an addict. So it's just different life, people's stories and stuff. You can share whatever you want. We had a little gathering yesterday. One of the guys celebrated his one year sobriety.
Amazing.
So he's up in Preston, so he drove down to North Wales yesterday just to celebrate his 1 year no beer with us. And there was a few from here, there and there. So we try and get little gatherings like that going on together, because the opposite of addiction is connection. So I've made so much more positive, lifelong connections since becoming sober.
Brilliant.
Than, people that I've grown up with all my life that haven't got a clue really about me. So these people know more about me than, people I've never met before in my life than, my close family.
Yeah.
So, it's a good group.
It's a lot of members as well, isn't it? That must be taking a lot of your time or not?
It does. I'm not as active now as I used to be because of work. So, I work 45 hours a week, so between work. But in the early days when I first started the group, obviously I was still dealing with health issues and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I could dedicate a lot more of my time to the group. Yeah. So I was constant, 24 hours a day. If anybody wanted my help, I'd be there straight away. People would private message me and stuff. So it was always. As the group grew, then I've added a few admins to the group. So there's people now all over the world that are admins. So no matter what time of day, if someone puts a post up saying, I need help, there's somebody there that can answer them pretty straight away. None of us are professional in addiction, but we've all lived through addiction, and sometimes I think that can be.
I bet it hits people very differently as well. The reasons why, and
it does,
and how they do it.
It does.
How they feed their addiction.
There are so many different forms of addiction. Primarily we're an alcohol addiction group, but all addictions work the same. It's all what happens up in the brain. So any addiction and anything can become addictive. It just depends on how it impacts our lives.
Of course, yeah.
A massive one now is mobile phones. 99.9% of the population are addicted to mobile phones. So when I try to explain addiction to people, I'll just say, right, put your phone away now, or leave it there. You can look at it, but you can't touch it. Right, so do that for 24 hours. And they go, oh yeah, I could do that for 24 hours, which not a lot of people can.
You just have that.
Yeah, and then you say,
automatic.
right, but you need to do that now every day for the rest of your life. You can see it, you can touch it, everything, but you can't actually do anything with it.
That's a really, really good way of explaining it.
I'll be honest, I was about to say exactly the same thing, because I can't relate to addiction at all, but that thought, like, I'm open now. I spend way too much time on social media and things, and the thought, like, I must look at my phone so many times in a day.
Yeah. It'd be
The
like
thought
me
would be
now,
like, oh my God.
putting your phone in front of you and say, right, that's your phone now, okay? And now you know that, you want to go and play with it, and I say, right, you can't touch that now, but it's there.
It's
in
that
front
serious.
of you. It's there, yeah? You can get as close to that to it, but you can't touch it ever again. So you say it to start with, like 24 hours, and you go, oh yeah, 24 hours, I could do that, no problem. But what you'll find is, even if they, I've done it with my daughter and stuff, she's 17 now, and I tell her, you're addicted to your phone. She lives on her phone, as most teenagers do. And I said, you try going for a day without it to understand where I'm coming from. And she got to about, say, 23 hours out of it, and you can see her itching. And then about half an hour to go, she'll go, I'm all right now. And I said, what's wrong with you now? Oh, I know I'm getting that in half an hour. Yeah. So her addictive brain is gone, it's all right, I don't need to. It's another one someone explained to me. We were smoking on addiction. So you get in an aeroplane, you land at the airport, and they say to you, right, you're going on a 2-hour flight. So, all right, 2 hours out of fact. So they're all stood outside, smoking.
They literally do.
They'll go and sit then in the departure lounge and everything. They'll sit on the plane all the way through it, and they're fine, no problem. You see, about 20 minutes before they get there, they'll be looking for the cigarettes, or making a roll up or whatever. And as soon as they're out, they're straight onto it. Yeah,
so true.
So it's how the addictive brain works, and it's all up here. That's where all addiction is. And once you get to understand how the brain works, then you've got a chance, I think, of actually beating addiction, and not just beating it, but living a fulfilling life after it. I met loads of ex-alcoholics who sit and fantasize about their past life, and all they want to do is, they can't go on holiday abroad again, because every time they go on holiday they drink, so they don't go on holiday anymore.
It really goes hand in hand, doesn't it? The sunshine and the beer.
It's stuff like that, where my mindset now is a mindset of someone who doesn't drink alcohol. That's it. There's no ifs, buts, maybes, or nothing about it. It's like, but what if? No, what if? I just don't drink alcohol. It's taken a long time to get to that stage, but
Can we talk about that then? Like your journey to get into this stage that we're sitting here with you today.
My journey started off loving family, brought up by two parents, no divorces or anything like that. My parents like a drink, no more than anybody else. Growing up from the age of 16 and that, drinking a few cans with the boys on a weekend.
Literally, exactly the same.
Often in my parents' house, because they wanted to keep an eye on us and stuff. That progressed then. Obviously we got a little bit older, 18, 19, started going clubbing and stuff. It was the 90s, it was the ecstasy time and stuff, so experimented with drugs and stuff. Ecstasy, speed, a bit of cocaine, nothing major, just on the weekend, working and stuff. As I got older, at the age of 27, I was given a public house in Pwllheli, a pub, and I was just like the fat kid in the sweet shop. It was like, way party time. My parents were involved with it and everything. Not a big issue. At the age of about 29, I think it was, I received a beating. So we say, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail of it, but I almost killed me, and that changed from being a casual-ish drinker, or I possibly drank every day, but only a couple kind of thing. After this beating, it was, like I said, I was running a pub at the time. It totally messed with my mind. As soon as the pub shut, I shut the door, and I'd get the bottle of Jack Daniels out, and I'd sit at the bar with a baseball bat, reacting to every little noise. If there was something in the toilet, or if there was a sign swinging outside, I was constantly, and I'd drink myself unconscious every night for for a couple of years, that was, until I actually left the pub. My girlfriend at the time became pregnant with my daughter, so we decided to leave the pub to live a normal life. At this time, I was a raging alcoholic. I was hiding beer, drinking and work. I went back to work as a builder. I was taking cans to work with me. We were hiding cans on the way home so I could take the dog for a walk and pick up a couple of cans out of a bush. So the missus at the time didn't know how much I drank.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I'd been for a pint after work, where really I'd had 4 and possibly 8 cans hidden somewhere for the rest of the night.
It's almost like a skill, isn't it, to hide
it's
how much you're drinking.
There's just
sort
so
of thing.
much deception with it. That's a big thing with addiction.
Yeah.
It's the lying and the covering your tracks. And no, I haven't done this. And it's not a very nice lifestyle to live once you're full on in it. So that was left the pub. When my daughter was 2, my girlfriend at the time then kicked me out. She'd had enough of my behaviour, of the lying, of the hiding cans everywhere. And that's when I went on a mission to basically destroy myself and anyone else who got in my way. I thought, right, fuck you, world. I felt like I'd been delivered a bad hand. So I thought, right, sod it. And just went on a 3-year bender, basically. Times where I've woken up in places and I just no idea where I was, how I got there. I think the worst one was waking up in Dublin, gone out on the piss in Pwllheli and woken up in Dublin. No idea how I got
No idea how you
on the
got
ferry.
there.
On the ferry, yeah.
Oh, that's,
no idea.
God.
No idea. So I
That's
woken
another level.
up and seen the ferry and I thought, wow, what am I doing in Holyhead? And I wasn't. I was in.
You were the other side.
Yeah, I was in Dublin.
So if I could just ask, how did you finance all that? How did you afford to
I was
pay
working at the time. I've always worked. So basically, all my wages were going on
Straight
drink
on
and
booze.
drugs.
How did you function though in work? Surely your colleagues or your boss or whoever it may be or the client
The worst,
must have
the
known.
worst
there was
bit
something
of my addiction was, I think, when I was running the pub.
Right.
So
Right.
I was my own boss.
Yeah.
Booze was there 24 hours a day, and nobody said anything if I was stood behind the bar with a pint of beer in my hand.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So
it seems really normal.
It's normal to be there, and at the time, I didn't see it as a problem. And because I was younger as well, you'd shake off a hangover in an hour,
Yeah.
a few cups of coffee or maybe a hair of the dog, and you'd be on it again for the next day. And working in a pub, which is a 7-day, 24-hour-a-day job, especially when it's a small pub and you can't really afford to pay staff all
Sure.
the time. So I was in the pub,
Always
in the environment all
Yep.
the time. And you'd have, middle of the winter, say, on a Monday night, you'd have maybe half a dozen lads come in at 6 o'clock, have their beer after work and stuff, and that would be it. And there was one old guy who used to come in to the pub, and he'd drink 8 pints of Guinness every night and 8 cigars to go with every pint. So I had to make sure that I had the cigars for him and everything. And he's a really nice guy, so we'd have really in-depth conversations and stuff with him, and he'd be like, oh, have a beer with me. So you'd have a beer with him. So on a Monday night, nobody else in there. By 10 o'clock, he'd be going home. So by 10 o'clock, shut the door. He's had his 8 pints. I've had my 8 pints. That's when I started again. So I'd put the karaoke machine on. I'd get the top shelf out.
Just on your own?
Just on my own, just drinking and partying. And at the time, didn't think it was a problem.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. When did you realise that you had a problem? I know you said it sort of stemmed from getting a hiding and then working in the pub, but was there that one moment that you thought, or maybe even someone else came to you and said, you've got a problem, or you think I've got a problem?
I didn't actually see it until I stopped, which is crazy.
Really?
Which is crazy, thinking of everything that happened to me during the, say, about 6 years of my worst of my alcoholism.
Yeah.
From blood clots in the leg, double fasciotomy on my leg, hospitalised for 4 or 5 months. I was sneaking out of the hospital in a wheelchair to go drinking and Bangor and stuff. It was crazy, and still it didn't twig. I had my parents saying to me often, Chris, you're drinking yourself to death here. You really need to stop and stuff. And I'd be, yeah, I know, Mum. I'd walk out the door, and the first thing I'd do is either to the pub or go and get some beer.
Yeah.
I didn't see it until I stopped drinking, and the day that changed my life. I was in Ysbyty Gwynedd again. I'd stopped. No, I hadn't stopped drinking. I was in Ysbyty Gwynedd again, and I was in immense pain with the pancreas. And the doctor who'd been treating me for about 4 or 5 years came in and talked to me. And I was expecting the same, blah, blah, blah. And he said, right, that's it, Mr. Rees, you selfish little cunt. And I went, honestly, it was like, whoa. He said, right, you've done it now. You've destroyed your pancreas. If you drink one more time, then you're going to die a horrible, horrible death. You think you're in pain now, which I was. The only way I can describe pancreatitis is imagine you've been impaled on a scaffolding pole straight through you. That's bright red hot. That's on fire kind of thing. Jeez. And then every now and again, someone will just go, it's an incredible pain. So yeah, he said, you've done it now. You've destroyed your pancreas. You're now a type 1 diabetic. And if you drink alcohol again, then this is nothing compared to what's going to happen to you. You're going to hemorrhage. He said, you're going to have blood coming from everywhere. He said, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, everywhere, he said. And if that's the vision you want to leave your daughter, he said, you selfish, selfish man. And I sort of went, ooh.
Huge wake-up call.
Something's just sort of hit a nerve. And I thought, wow, yeah, is it really that bad? And he said, you've got, if you carry on, you're going to die, he said. But if you don't do it, you'll be lucky to survive now, he said to me. You've probably got weeks left to live. And it was like, wow, massive wake-up call. And the first 18 months of my sobriety, I was gravely ill because of the pancreatitis. I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. I was in constant pain. So I was my life then was just this, lying in bed going,
oh my God,
and popping as many painkillers as I could. Because at the time, I didn't understand how opioids worked. So I thought, I'm in pain, I need painkillers, so I take 2. They don't work, so I'll take another 2. And every time I went to see a doctor, they just kept giving me stronger and stronger and stronger painkillers, which obviously can lead to issues.
Did that channel like addiction into another place?
Yeah, I went from being an alcoholic to an opioid addict to having issues with opioids. It's just there was the lack of knowledge on my part. That was a doctor tells you take 2 of them, you take them, no questions asked. Take 2 of them, you do it.
Yeah, of course. You just trust that.
That's it. You trust the doctors. You need to take them. So I did, and then when they weren't working or having the same effect as they were the week before, you take a bit more. And my life just existed of just being in pain all the time. So at the end, I was on a fentanyl patch, which is 200 times stronger than street heroin. I was on Oromorph, which is liquid morphine. So I was drinking that like it was pop. Tramadols, which are highly addictive and cause so much problems everywhere else. And then when they didn't work, they tried me on amitriptyline and gabapentin, which aren't an analgesic, so they don't actually stop the pain, but they trigger the brain to believing that you're not in pain anymore. Good grief. So it basically switches you off, and you just sat there like a zombie, basically. So I was on them for a while. So yeah, it was just more and more and more prescription drugs. And in 2000, I'd stopped drinking in 2015.
Yeah.
Because of the damage I'd done for the next year and a half, I couldn't, I could just about drink a glass of water, let alone think about drinking alcohol. So I couldn't drink anyway. So over the first 18 months, I was really, really ill. Yeah. They were just in and out of hospital all the time. Doctors have said, we want to operate on you. The plan was to open me up, take away the pancreas, the duodenum, the gallbladder, the spleen, and a large chunk of my small intestine. That's what happens if you damage your pancreas through alcohol.
And alcohol completely wrecked all of that inside you.
The alcohol had done the damage there. I had a blood clot on the mouth of the pancreas, and that obliterated my splenic artery and left loads of arterial embolisms everywhere, so little pockets of blood everywhere. So the pancreatic surgeon told me in Liverpool, if we operate on you, there's a good chance I'm going to kill you. If everything's successful, then there's a good chance you'll be here in hospital for possibly anything up to 2 years in Liverpool. Now, at the time, I was gagging for this operation because I was in just so much pain. I thought, I can't carry on my life like this in all this pain. So, and anyway, luckily, touch wood, it didn't happen. That's what saved my life. And so, yeah, that was the plan to take all this out. after signing myself out of hospital a year later, I was no better. I was worse than at any time. I came home and I decided, right, I am not dying an opioid junkie. So I went cold turkey off all the medication, threw them all away. And it's the scariest 3 weeks of my life.
Oh, man.
I was just lying in bed, sweating profusely all the time, in pain as well. And it was just going from one pool of sweat to another. I was wet in the bed, puke in the bed, shit in the bed. It was horrendous.
This is all prescribed drugs as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
all prescribed.
All from the doctors. Yeah, all from the doctors. I remember leaving the hospital to go in there once, and they said, you can't go without your prescription. I said, listen, I got loads of drugs in the house. I got cupboards full of it. I don't need any more. I know you have to have these before you went. And I left the hospital to go in there with 2 carrier bags full of opioid drugs. How much that's costed the NHS, I have no idea. They're just so ready to just, take 2 of them, take 2 of them, take 2 of them. The doctors in my local surgery, they were the same. Take 2 of them, take 2 of them, take 2 of them. And, since I came home and stopped taking all of them, I know for a fact that's what saved my life. I wouldn't be here if I was carrying on prescription drugs.
Wow.
And now I don't take anything as much as I haven't taken a paracetamol in the last 5 years. So I don't take anything for pain or anything. The only prescription medication I take is insulin, and obviously I have to take that.
Of course.
If I didn't have to take that, then I wouldn't take that either.
Wow.
I'm just going to go back to like the sorry, that was a lot to take in. Then it was like a hell of a thing you've been through. It's unbelievable. The alcohol side of it. I mean, it was obviously a gradual build up. I mean, what were you like addicted to? I know it sounds like a crazy question, but was it like the confidence, the social side, the taste? What was it that actually?
That's always interesting to me as well, because like I like to drink beer.
Yeah,
but like, if I'm hungover, I don't want to go anywhere near any alcohol ever.
So what is it? What were you actually addicted to?
I think to start with, when you first start drinking with your mates and stuff when you're younger, it gives you that confidence.
Yeah.
You lose all your inhibition, so it's like anything goes.
It's a total laugh, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've always been quite outspoken and loud and life and soul of the party and stuff. So it was, I don't know, it's just something that I've always grown up with as well. My parents like a drink. I wouldn't, they're nowhere near being alcohol dependent or anything like that. But as a kid, parties over in my parents' house and that, seeing people drunk and that, they're always laughing, joking and having a good time.
It looks great.
It looks amazing on the outside. And as I was growing up, I'm from a big family. My mum's one of 12 children. So there was always a wedding, a funeral or a christening or something. So even as a young kid, we were having big parties and I was allowed to have a little glass of this here or a beer here and stuff. So I never saw alcohol as something that was bad. And then when you think of the alcoholic, then the alcoholic is the bum sitting in the bus stop with his bottle of vodka shaking and stuff. You don't think of the alcoholic as your normal everyday kind of person who cracks on with work and everything. It's I don't know. It's just a lot of good times we had on beer.
Social.
We used to go partying and clubbing and this, that, and the other. And then it just, after that beating I had, it just went to a place where you could sort of forget for a few hours. And it went from drinking 3 or 4 beers maybe on a night to drinking 10 beers on a night and half a bottle of Jack Daniels, where at the end, just before I left the pub, I'd drink a 1.5 litre of Jack Daniels a day.
That's all right. Just take that in for a second.
The money side of that alone, obviously, like how your body dealt with it. And then another question I was going to ask is like, because I don't understand everything about it, obviously. So is your body somehow dependent on the alcohol? Is it like it is with some other drugs?
Yes,
and your body is almost craving it or needing it?
Alcohol is physically addictive. So if I didn't, at my worst, if I didn't have my can of cider within the first half an hour of me waking up in the morning, I'd have full-on withdrawals. I'd have the shakes, the sweats, the DTs, they call them. Your body is that used to having that much alcohol in it. When it hasn't, or the alcohol levels drops, then your body will start going into fits and stuff. Luckily, I didn't have too many of them, but every time I had a pancreatic attack and was hospitalised, that's when I had my detox as well, because obviously I was in that much pain and stuff, and being in hospital, I couldn't drink. So I detoxed quite often every time I was in hospital. And then so I'd be in for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, sometimes up to 3-4 weeks, and in that time I wouldn't drink at all. So the first week or two was horrendous, and then after that my body sort of come round, and then I'd be able to eat, I'd be able to drink, and I'd feel great. And as soon as I leave the hospital, I feel great now, and off you go. And, you know, before today, I phoned my father up and said, like, can you come and pick me up, which is an hour's drive from Pwllheli to Bangor. And in that time, I've gone out, across the road to the shop that was across the road that has an off licence, bought 2 cans of cider, clacked them before my father's arrived, and then he's driven me home. It's the compulsion, the need. That's what addiction is. It's your body's telling you need this to survive, otherwise you can't survive, where in reality, you know, you don't need it to survive. But at the time it was that, you know, the withdrawals, the shakes, the sweats, everything, and you just sort of get used to being in that little bubble. And that's why it's so difficult to get out of it, I think. And, you know, you need to... I was given the ultimatum, you know, if you drink again, you're going to die. That's how I took it. I couldn't have taken it any further. And like I said, it was only after I stopped drinking and got my health back and looked back and thought, wow, you really were really, really bad. You know, I get up most mornings with the intention, I'm not drinking today. By the time I put the kettle on, put milk and sugar and coffee in the thing, and opened the fridge door to get the milk, there'd always be a can of cider next to the milk. Now, 99% of the times, I can't remember leaving that can of cider there, but there was something in me before going to bed that made sure I left a drink for the morning for me every time.
Really?
And that would be it. As soon as I opened the fridge door, open a can, and the first couple, they'd be like, you know, you're actually forcing this down, but you know, if you don't force it down, then you're gonna have the withdrawals and stuff. So the first few, I remember the night before I destroyed my pancreas, I was back in my parents' house because Alison, my now wife, had had enough of me, enough of my behaviour. You know, I was erratic. I could go and popping out to get a pint of milk, and she might not see me for a week. That's that kind of thing, you know. So she'd had enough of me. I'd gone back to my parents' house, and I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. I had no money, and I mean no money. I mean nothing, not even a penny. Because I remember I had to get my mum to buy me a packet of Rizla, which was like 25p. So I had no money, and it was about 6 o'clock. I'd been in bed all day, like this, shaking, rattling, proper withdrawals. And she came in and said, Chris, you really have to eat something. And I said, I've got no chance of me eating anything today, man. And I was like this, really bad shaking. And she came in about half an hour later with 8 cans of cider for me. And she said, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, Chris. You know, buy you booze, knowing it's killing me. But if I don't have it, that could kill me as well. So it took 4 cans, literally like this, the worst I've been, to get these 4 to start with. Then the shake stopped, and it was like, all right, nice one. So I drank the other 4 cans, fell asleep, woke up the next morning, and that was when the pancreas was destroyed. It felt like someone had shot me with a shotgun to the chest. I was throwing up this horrible green bile that was burning me on the way up. So everything was, you know, it was ruined. That's when I was rushed into hospital again, and the doctor said, right, that's it, you've destroyed your pancreas. If you drink again, you're going to die a very horrible death. And luckily, something clicked. And from then on, like I said, the first year and a half was really hard work, just staying alive. Once my health started improving, that's when this little voice started in my head. Then I said, "Oh, this is my addiction voice." I said, "Oh, you're all right now, Chris. Look at you. You haven't had a drink for a year and a half. You know, no pain, no this, no nothing. So you'll be fine.
You fixed it. You fixed it, mate.
Done.
You're all right now. You can have a drink." And that's when my real battle with addiction really started, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and I was like, so I had this constant dialogue in my head: have a drink, you can't have a drink, have a drink, can't have a drink, but you need to drink. And it was just 24 hours a day. So a friend of mine said, try AA. So I went to AA to start with. I did AA for about 3 months. Now I'm not knocking any anything that tries to help people with addiction, but AA just didn't work for me. In AA, you sit in a room and you go, "Hi, my name's Chris and I'm an alcoholic," and then you obviously talk about your story and stuff. On my first meeting, I remember driving home from Carnarvon, and a guy had shared this story. He goes, "Hi, my name's John, I'm an alcoholic," told me a story, and I could relate to all of it. I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, I've done that. And he said, and the way I've not had a drink is because I come here every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Sunday, religiously. I very, very rarely miss a meeting." I said, "All right, brilliant." And he said, "And I've not had a drink for 39 years. And everyone started clapping. I thought, wow, fair play, 39 years. So driving home, I thought to myself, wow, is this the next 40 years of my life? Sitting in a room with these people talking about my previous drinking experiences. And I thought, wow, I can't do that. There has to be some kind of closure somewhere, or a line in the sand you can say, right.
Yeah, like, big respect to that chap for that was that was his mechanism, I guess, wasn't it, that he had to go to the meetings to
not
drink.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you much of a life.
No,
I was thinking to
I was going to
myself,
say, like, it's really unfortunate that he couldn't
move on from it. What it did for me, it's the mindset of what I felt there was they're all alcoholics. I was an alcoholic, but they're always going to be alcoholics. If they're going to sit in a room for 40 years going, "I'm an alcoholic," then they're going to think and act like an alcoholic. Where I thought, I can't act and be an alcoholic for the rest of my life. So I remember one Sunday morning, I'm a big Liverpool fan, football. I used to be a lot more fanatic than I am. So Man U Liverpool game on a Sunday, and I knew all my mates would be in the pub. And I was sat at home, I was healthy again, I was about 18 months sober, and I'm like, oh, the boys are in the pub today. I need to be in the pub today. I want to go to the pub today. So I took the dog for a walk along the beach for about 3 or 4 hours, and the closer kickoff was getting, the more wound up I was getting. Of course. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got to go. No, you can't go. Yes, you got to go. So constant.
That's 18
dialogue.
months into it as well.
Yeah. But the first 18 months was just really a battle just to stay alive. Yeah. So I didn't think about addiction or anything, or sobriety or anything. But after my health improved, that's when the brain started hitting me. And I was like, I've got to go. And it was like, no, you can't. Yes, you can. Anyway, and I ended up smashing the house up. I put my foot through the telly. I had a complete nervous breakdown. Crying the works. My next door neighbour heard the commotion. She came round, and she works in mental health. So she said, right, what's going on? I said, I can't live my life like this. I can't be an alcoholic forever. So she said, right, leave it with me. So she went to work the next day, came back Monday night and said, right, there's a meeting tomorrow in the local drop-in centre. I advise you go 11 o'clock, and then local drop-in centre. This is where, in my head, was where all the bums go, all the junkies go. I said, I'm not going there. I'm better than that kind of thing. Anyway, she came round Tuesday morning and said, just go. I'm not going. Just bloody go. Anyway, I went, and it was the best thing I did.
Brilliant.
I went every day, every week then for 2 years. And in that time, I sat a couple of courses to understand a bit more about addiction. The first one was called Moving On in My Recovery, which was good. It was all right. The second one was called Intuitive Recovery, and in 4 days, totally changed my life. I went in there calling myself Chris, the non-drinking alcoholic, and I came out with it as just Chris and started again from scratch. So
nice.
That's amazing.
Without carrying any negative labels. The guy who was doing the course, Phil Clark, amazing guy. He said to me in the last day, what's this non-drinking alcoholic business? And I said, well, I've been to AA. They told me I'm an alcoholic. I'll be an alcoholic for life, but I'm an alcoholic who chooses not to drink. I said, all right, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. And he goes, what's the definition of an alcoholic? I said, oh, someone who's dependent on alcohol. He goes, yeah, well done, Chris. I've been listening. He said, are you dependent on alcohol? I went, well, I've not had a drink in 18 months. Well, you're not a fucking alcoholic then, are you?
Nice.
I went,
Nice, yeah.
And I sort of went, oh, all right, okay then. And he goes, these are the things, junkie, waster, bum, all these things that you've written down that you class yourself as. You're none of them anymore, mate. You've been them. So he said, if I had to introduce myself the way you're doing, I'd walk into the room, hi, I'm Phil. I'm a heroin addict, crack addict.
It never goes,
He said, it'd take me 10 minutes to introduce myself.
Exactly,
so he said,
label never
labels.
go.
You need to get rid of all the negative labels that you're carrying around with you.
Reset.
Start again. I still get goose pimples about it now. He said, go home.
I was almost crying then.
Goose pimple. He goes, look yourself in the mirror, ditch all them things, and just say, hi, I'm Chris. And then start again. You can start again anytime you want, he said. There's no specific date or time or whatever. Anyone can change like that, he said, in any second. So from now on, you're Chris. So you're a father, are you? Are you a good father? I said, yeah. Well, good father. Husband? Good husband. Good son. Good this. So carry them kind of labels around with you. Not the junkie, the waster, the alky, because that's going to keep you in the mindset of a junkie, a waster.
Almost shackled
really
to.
So it's all about mindset. Now, that's why I called my group Sober Ninjas.
Nice.
So this little voice that we got in our head that will try and encourage us to drink and take drugs and stuff, that's what we need to go to war with, basically.
Yep.
You need to go to war with yourself when you're fighting an addiction. So that's why we're called ninjas, because if you're going to war with someone, what do you want better than a fucking ninja by your side? You know, you don't fuck with a ninja. So that's why basically we're called Sober Ninjas.
That's a cool name, yeah.
When that little voice starts, I call that little voice the bitch. So it'll nag. It can either treat it either the bitch or the petulant child. Now, if you treat it like a petulant child and, it asks, that, can I? If you're going to keep giving and giving, that child's going to end up being a nightmare.
Yeah.
Where it's the same. So the same with addiction. When this little voice goes, oh, can I? You have to treat it basically like a petulant child and say, no, you can't have it. So the more you keep telling it you can't have it, then the less it'll ask in time. So intuitive recovery course, it was amazing. You have a gland in the brain called the amygdala. Now the amygdala controls all our desires. Over the years, we've trained this little thing to believe that some of our desires are pleasurable. So when I first started drinking, it was a pleasurable experience. When I first started taking drugs, it was a pleasurable experience. We had a great time dancing on top of tables. So that's what this remembers. So when it tries to encourage me to drink, it'll go, oh yeah, but remember that
you had a great time doing it.
It can be like that again. It'll be fantastic. But what the brain also knows is that if I started again, it wouldn't take me long to be drinking as much as I was before. It's learned behaviours. Yeah. So you've basically got to go into war with this little amygdala thing, which I call the bitch. And then when this goes, hey, come on, time for a drink, it's like, get in your box, bitch. So metaphorically in your head, I picture myself at my worst, the drunken me, asking me for a drink. Hey, Chris, come on, give us a drink. And he'd be like, no, mate, we're not getting on.
No.
So you put it in a box, shut the lid, put the lock on it, throw away the key and bury it.
Nice.
Then the next time this pops up, I very rarely get cravings anymore. So maybe sometimes on a Friday night, you've just finished work, sun's shining, all your mates are in the beer garden, and you go, oh, beer would be nice. My little voice just gets to beer now. Ooh, beer, shut up. Nice. In your box, bitch, shut up, and then I'll get off.
How long has it been since you've had a drink?
I've not had a drink now in just over 8 years.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Incredible.
March the 23rd. March the 22nd, I had my last drink that my parents gave me. That my mother gave me, that I was really, really ill.
Yeah.
That was my last drink, and I've not had a drop since. I've not even come close to having a drop since.
Incredible. Can I just commend you on that? That's amazing. Well done. Can you be around people drinking alcohol now?
I can now.
And do you still get urges, like you said? Then you said no. You get to beer and then you stop.
Yeah.
So would you say you are completely cured of addiction to alcohol?
I call myself recovered.
Okay.
A lot of people call themselves recovering.
Yeah.
I'm not recovering. I'm recovered. I'm done with it. I've dealt with it. That's my mindset of it. In my head, I will never drink alcohol again.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's so much more final and
strong. It has to be.
Stance,
it has to be.
Yeah.
If there was any little inkling for this little thing in my head to persuade me, then that'd be dangerous. I would be constantly in dialogue with this then, with my little voice in my head. If I give it, if I opened that door just a little bit.
Did you have traits when you were really young as an addicted person? Addicted to anything else when you were a kid? I don't know, games or football, whatever it may be.
Anything,
were you obsessed
anything and everything. Very obsessive with everything. It's taken me, until I was over 40 to actually step out of it by learning these things on these courses and stuff that I've done, and that it does. And since stopping drinking and everything, I've become more connected to myself than I was before. I've been studying lots of different things like spirituality kind of stuff and that, things that I'd never even think about before, you know. So no, I don't know. It's but yeah, everything always it always has to be 100% or, you know, full on with everything. Yeah.
And not to sort of discuss what goes on in your group, but is there people in there who, do they all have addictive personalities, or is it something that may have triggered it? Like a trauma, or like you said, you got beaten up, or
I don't even know if there is such a thing as an addictive personality.
You don't think so?
To be honest,
okay.
It's I don't know. So they say that alcoholism is a disease. Now a lot of other people say it's a choice.
What would you say?
Yeah, what would you say? You're the most qualified person in the room, you know.
I think it comes to a point where, you know, being addicted to something can happen without you knowing it. But once you know you have an issue with it, then it comes down to choice. That's the way I see it. The magic word in addiction is ambivalent. So if you're ambivalent about something, ambivalent means two opposing opinions on the same subject. So if half of you thinks, oh yeah, that's great, I'm shit on that one, and then the other half thinks, you know what, you really shouldn't be doing this. Once you become ambivalent about anything, that is addiction, basically. You know, it could be with your phone, for example. Oh, I'm spending too much time on Facebook. I'm spending too much time on Facebook. And then the other half go, yeah, all right, okay. And then you put your phone down. I'm not touching that for at least an hour. Within that hour, this little voice will go to you, oh, go on, pick up your phone. Or your phone will ping. And
you literally
your phone
hit the nail on the head.
There's a message there. I've got to answer it. That's what addiction is. It's the ambivalence. So once you become ambivalent about whatever it is, then that is basically addiction.
Yeah, those 8 cans, I was thinking about it because you said your mum bought you those 8 cans, and initially I was thinking, oh my God, she must have felt horrible giving you those 8 cans, particularly afterwards because you said of what happened to your pancreas. But then listening to more of the story, I feel like those 8 cans saved your life.
Yeah, that's what it is. If I wouldn't have had alcohol that day, in the next few hours, there's a good chance I could have gone into a coma or something.
Yeah.
That's how bad withdrawals from alcohol is.
But I mean, it saved your life in more than one way, I suppose. You needed it in that time, and then it also gave you that really tough love from that doctor.
Yeah.
And it and I guess like scared you into thinking, well, this is it. I have to stop now, otherwise it's over.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, the first 18 months was just pure hell. Every sip of water I took, I'd end up throwing up, so I couldn't keep anything down. So I'd take a little sip of water, and maybe 2-3 pints of water would come back up, and it was just constant like that for months and months and months. I was living in a flat on my own at that time. Just previously to that, I'd been homeless, so I was sleeping on the streets, or sleeping in boats on the harbour side, or sofa surfing, or wherever I could find. I always had a bed in my parents' house, but the deal was I weren't allowed to drink there.
Yeah.
So obviously I'd go and find somewhere else to be.
Yeah.
And so I had a flat from a homeless association, and for the first year of being there, I didn't move off the sofa, I don't think. It was just an existence of popping painkillers and trying to survive through the day.
Do you mind if we go back to the opioid situation? Because I was going to ask you, you said you were having withdrawal symptoms from the opioids yourself, and you said you were sweating and things. Like, you obviously did it yourself, but did you have any form of like support system when you were going through the cold turkey stage, or were you literally just on your own in a room?
I had, well, obviously Alison was really the wife, and my parents popped in every now and again just to keep an eye on me. But no, it was basically just me in bed, just sweating for 3 weeks.
That must have been
it was
horrendous.
Well, there were days there where I was actually begging for death.
Yeah.
I just had enough. It was just, like I say, it was like being impaled on a scaffolding tube for a year. Yeah. And then just every now and again, someone just doing that, you know. I think I've possibly had a pancreatic attack about 300 plus times. Say maybe 20 of them hospitalised. Possibly most of them I shouldn't have been hospitalised. Yeah. But I know that all they did in hospital was just give you painkillers and wait until you can poo again or eat again, and then they send you home. So very rarely did I go into hospital unless, you know, I was thinking, right, I need to go this time, which didn't happen very often. So it was brutal, that bit was. But
it's crazy that you had to beat alcoholism or being addicted to alcohol and then being addicted to opioids. To battle like 2 addictions sort of like almost back to back.
Yeah.
It's a total war. It's a total war.
It was constant. It's just constant. It just takes over everything. That's the thing about it. That's what addiction is. Once it takes over every aspect of your life, then you know you're in full on blown addiction, because everything revolved around beer for me. Even driving. I used to drive constantly. Yeah. If it was a trip to Bangor, then that's a 4-can journey. Not an hour's journey, and we'll stop and have a McDonald's on the way. It was a 4-can journey, and
that's how your mind worked.
Yeah,
my gosh.
Counting money, I wouldn't count money as money. So if I had a fiver,
tokens for cider,
4-pack,
beer tokens. Yeah. So if I had a fiver in my pocket, that's 4 cans.
It's scary, isn't it? Because like we've grown up obviously going out on Saturdays and having a few beers every now and again. We use all this terminology all the time. We go, I got the beer tokens for Friday. We're always. Yeah. But sometimes it's like scary how close you become, or close to the edge you get without, as you said, knowing.
Yeah, it is really
mind-blowing.
There's a fine line
Yeah.
between addiction. A lot of people are functioning alcoholics, so we call them that.
Yeah.
That don't even realise that they have an issue.
Yeah.
The guidelines from the government, how many units you should drink a week. Most people blow them out in the first 2 hours of the sesh.
And it's one of the first questions they ask you in the GPs, isn't it? Like, what units of alcohol? And you just lie. You just go,
everyone halves it.
One bottle of wine a week.
Yeah, no, but alcohol, it's a socially acceptable drug. I call alcohol a drug in front of people, and people look, what do you mean drug?
Yeah, I know.
And I said, well, alcohol is, it's
definitely a drug.
It's the drug that causes more death and destruction than all of the drugs put together. Yeah. But because it's socially acceptable, then, people don't see the damage that it actually does.
Would you say giving up alcohol was harder than the opioids, or is it just like such a crazy, like, I don't know, just asking, like, which one was harder?
Mentally, it was definitely the alcohol.
Do you think that's because it's like more widely available? Like, you walk past a pub, you walk past Tesco, there's a bottle of vodka on the shelf.
Everywhere. I didn't really think I was addicted to opioids until I'd stopped taking them as well. Okay. You didn't realise, because at the time you think, well, the doctors are giving me these, they've got to be all right. If the doctor's telling me to take two of them, then you take them without thinking at all. It was only after stopping drinking and taking my health into my own hands that I realised that I don't listen to doctors anymore, and that's the reason why I'm still here.
What was the effect that it was having on the people around you, like your friends, your family? Your daughter.
You lose contact with a lot of friends, and that's every relationship I had gone, businesses gone, money gone. And then that involved me moving back to my parents' house at the age of 39 and stuff, and that, which is obviously an impact on them. It affects everybody around you. You think it doesn't. It can be a very selfish thing, alcoholism, or any addiction. It is very, in you, but it does everything you do. It affects everyone. Every time I see my mum, she was surprised to see me, shall we say. Spoken to her afterwards, and she said, there were days and days and days where I didn't hear anything off you, and I'm thinking, is he dead? Is he alive? Where is he? Is he here? Is he there? So it's just a constant worry. So it definitely affected everybody around me. And since stopping drinking and the things that I've done since, you can see how that affects everybody as well, in a totally different way. There's a lot of pride off my parents now. My dad has actually said to me once ever in my life, I'm really proud of you. And I'd never heard that off him before. So it's massive. It does impact everything and everyone. Luckily for my daughter, she doesn't really remember me being drunk. Cool. Which is brilliant. She's 17 now. I stopped drinking 8 years ago, so she doesn't remember me being. She remembers coming to the hospital to visit me a few times, but she doesn't remember. I don't think she's ever seen me drunk, which is brilliant.
That is really, really good, isn't it?
Which is brilliant.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you find that people who are like recovering have to turn to something else, like food or sport, or do they do you have to find something?
Yeah, you need, it's because a lot of it, it's mental, it's a mental addiction. I think addiction is definitely comes under the mental health. It has to, because it's all up here. And most addicts, they're compulsive about something. So if you stop something there, then you need to try and find something else. I taught myself, I'm quite handy with my hands, I'm a builder by trade. So while I was really, really ill, I taught myself how to do some engraving onto glass.
Nice.
It was a complete fluke. But it came to something that kept my mind occupied for hours and hours. If I started engraving, I could probably be engraving for like 10 hours.
Wow.
So I'd have music on and I'd be away in there, and then you forget about the pain for a bit.
Sounds really nice, that does.
You'd forget about that little voice had shut up for a little bit, so it wasn't all about drink.
Yeah.
So I taught myself to do that. And then when I moved into the flat that I had off the Homeless Association, I'd been sleeping here, there and everywhere, so I didn't have anything anyway, but they gave me a flat and they gave me a sofa and a bed upstairs, and that was it. So it was a massive living room, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh right, okay, then I've got no furniture, no nothing. My parents had offered to buy everything. I said, oh, this time I'm doing it myself, so to gain a bit of independence and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had no furniture, so I walked down to the local Spar, grabbed a couple of pallets, took them home, took them apart, and made myself a coffee table. And then I made myself something to hold the telly. Then I made my daughter a double bed. Then I made myself a double bed. And it went from there. So I started doing picture frames and mirrors and stuff. It was just something to keep myself occupied. Yeah. My sister asked if I could do like a little mud kitchen thing for my niece for her birthday. So I made one of them, put a picture on Facebook. Oh, that's cool. Can you make me one?
Yeah.
So I started making things like that just to keep your hands busy and keep your brain busy, because that's where it all happens, is up here. And then once, if you can get your head around, the science of addiction and change your mindset to not be the victim and be the survivor and stuff for that, then but you have to, you need to keep busy, basically. Especially, when in the early days, cravings and stuff, they reckon cravings can last about 10 minutes. So if that little voice goes, oh, drink, if you can do something with your hands for 10 minutes,
it goes away then
your craving will go away. And if you just keep doing it, then your cravings lessen and lessen. So it's about, you've got to change everything, basically. Everything, from friends to where you go, what you do, hobbies, everything has to change, basically. Otherwise it's easy enough to slip back in.
To relapse.
Especially with alcohol there. It's like you said, it's everywhere you go, it's in shops.
That's the hard thing,
and it's
isn't it?
all promoted as fun and good time and people on the beach, and you don't see, they don't advertise alcohol with a guy sitting in the corner pissed out of his head.
No, they really don't.
Crying his eyes out.
I've got a question. It's like, it's two-parted really. Did anyone ever say to you, sort of on this journey, to you, look, I think you're drinking too much? Because what I'm trying to get at is, if you see a mate of yours, you think, actually, he's drinking a bit more than what I remember. How would you bring up that conversation without them getting their back up and feeling judged, I think is the question.
It's very, very, very difficult.
I bet.
It is. It's very difficult. I get a lot of people messaging me, my son, my daughter, my husband, blah, 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 is drinking too much. Can you help? And I said, well, is it you asking for my help, or is it them asking for my help? And 90% of the time, it's them. It's not the person drinking that's asking for help. Yeah. So, and I've said to him, well, if you can get him to phone me, then I can help. But talking to you is not going to help him. No. He has to want to stop, and that's where the issue. That's where the big thing is. A lot of people don't realise how much they do, but at the back of their minds, they've got to know they're drinking too much. They've got to know the impact it's having on their life, on other people's lives. So, but it's one of the things in the group with the Sober Ninjas is what I say to people, you can't judge anyone. Yeah. Yeah, and that's, if anyone starts judging people in it, then I shut them down straight away, because, who am I to judge anyone? I've probably done things worse than all the other people put together. So there's no judgment in the group. But it has to be up to the individual if they want to change.
So accepting.
Like I said, AA, it didn't really work for me, but the first step in AA is admitting that you have a problem. and then the second step is asking for help, which I've taken them 2 steps on board because, but they have to ask for the help. There's no point me going up because, I know a lot of people still in my town, my old drinking buddies, and I could go up to all them and say, you're drinking too much. And they'll all go to me, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until they want to do something about it, there's no point me saying anything to them, really.
And unfortunately, it might be a massive health problem that really hits them and wakes them up.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I've got people in the group that have been there 3-4 years. They know everything I know because I've told them everything I know, and they still continue to drink. And they still, you'll see a post every now and again, day 1 again. And it's like, and then they'll message me and ask me for my advice. And I'll go, well, scroll back 2 years. Same advice I give you now that I gave you 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's the same.
So, it has to be up to the individual
So hard,
to
isn't
want
it?
to change.
They haven't had that shock moment that you had, I suppose.
yet.
But
No.
then, like, how risky is that shock moment? Because you could take that stance and approach to someone, and it could potentially backfire. So the advice that the doctor gave you was like really, really tough love, wasn't it? It was like called you selfish and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But you imagine doing that to a loved one and it kind of backfires and they go on an absolute bender for a week. It's so fragile, isn't it?
It's very hard to know what to say because, like you said, everyone's an individual.
Yeah,
so if
exactly.
I say to someone, you need to sort your shit out, and they'll go, all right, okay, and they will.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But then I'll say the same thing to somebody else, and they could end up them taking their own lives.
I know. It's
fine line. Such a fine line.
Everyone's different, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Everyone's
what I
different.
try and do is I try and treat everyone the same, no matter in life in general. Basically, treat everyone the same. If you're a 2-year-old kid to a 90-year-old guy, I'll talk to you exactly the same. That makes no difference. So I do the same. When I try and help people with their alcohol issues and stuff, I will tell them it's tough love all the way with me. The arm round the shoulder and the pat on the back didn't work for me. That's what my parents did for me for years. It was like, come on, Chris, you need to stop drinking. Come on, and tap on the back and that. And I'd be out the door straight away, straight to the pub, go straight to get beer. And it'd go through one ear and out the other ear. But where people have actually sat me down and go, it's gone like, oh, right, okay. Yeah, and it bits like that have stuck.
What what advice would you give to someone who's sort of realised, okay, yes, I've got an issue, What's like the first steps?
Seek out professional help. It would be my first one. Go and visit your GP. What help you'll get from them, I don't know, because I didn't get much, to be honest with you, myself personally, but they are there to help. So go and speak to your GP. They'll put you in touch with MSM, misuse services, with SMS, or search on Facebook for sobriety groups. If you're very dependent on alcohol, you definitely need professional help, a detox or a rehab or something, because they do amazing work. But there are courses out there to say it, there are groups to say it. The intuitive recovery course, I can't praise it enough. It saved my life.
Sounds amazing, that does. It's just 4 days, changed your life,
It
didn't
was brilliant. It was amazing. I was actually offered a job with them last year.
Nice.
Because of circumstances. I couldn't do it, but it's something I'm thinking of maybe doing along somewhere a bit further on down the line. It's something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I went to college a couple of years back to be a drug and alcohol counsellor, but the way they do it and the way I do it, it's just totally different. And
The thing is, you've walked the walk.
yeah, what they said to me, they
guess.
said, if you can get one person a year, you'll be a peer in our company. You'll be a bloody amazing. I said, what, just one? And she went, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I do tens a year. I get I've helped quite a few people over the years. I'd like to think so anyway. And so it's whatever I'm doing, something's got to have, something's working.
Yeah.
And it is tough love. I'll swear at them, I'll scream at them, I'll shout at them, but I'll also explain what is going on. And then when you understand what's going on, you've got a better idea of how to deal with it. Because I didn't have a clue about addiction, anything about it. I didn't have a clue about opioids. I didn't have a clue about alcohol, how it affected you, what damage it did and everything. So the more you educate yourself about your chosen drug or your chosen thing, then that's got to help as well.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of, reading work about addiction. I listen to podcasts, I listen to audiobooks, constantly trying to, find the next, and I'll take a bit from here and a bit from there and a bit from there. One sentence, it's just a word or a sentence or something that'll just, I like the sound of that. One of the first videos I remember watching, some Scottish guy, and I could just barely about understand him. He was that broad of an accent. But I remember him saying, my advice is stay one step ahead of your bullshit. And I thought, and then when he explained it then, he said, that bullshit, when you're talking bullshit to yourself, because a little thought will come up in your head and you'll go, I'll have a drink today because blah, 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 blah. This little voice will go, that's bullshit, mate. You're talking bullshit. So always stay one step ahead of your bullshit so you can recognise when you're talking bullshit to yourself. And then you go, right, I shouldn't be doing that. So it's just little things, where I try not to act on emotions anymore. Someone will say something to you, you'll get all riled up and you act instantly, and it's 99% of the time it's the wrong reaction.
Rash decision.
Yeah, it's rash. So instead of acting on impulse sort of thing, you take a little step back and act more rationally.
Think
so
more.
Get the rational mind thinking instead of the impulsive mind. Mm-hmm. So it's just loads of little things like that you've got to you take on board and you learn. But courses, go and sit them. Local drop-in centres, go there and ask for help, because they've been amazing with me. I'm looking at volunteering in my local drop-in centre soon, as soon as a position comes up. So brilliant. Just little places like that.
Quality.
Amazing.
Yeah, great. It's amazing.
You got any questions, boys? I've got one or two more, but we've flown through this because we've been chatting away. It's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what's like the ratio of male and female in your group? Is it split, or
there's
I'm just
a lot
intrigued?
more women?
Is there
a lot more women now? I don't know if that's like a thing you do, that men don't talk as much, but I'd say it's about 80% women.
Really? I don't know why that surprised me, but I think it has.
And the age range is between 35 and 60.
Why is that? What do you
I think a lot of it is the mummy culture, the wine mummy culture, where they drop the kids off at school or whatever, wine o'clock. That's a very thing. So kids go to bed, get the wine out. And it's a culture of of drinking wine and stuff, and it's massive. And a lot of the people in the group, the women, they say, they put the kids to bed and I'll have a quick glass of wine. And then before you know it, they're drinking the whole bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. And then, a little bit later down, they're drinking 2 bottles of wine. And then, they're irritable with the kids in the morning and they're this and they're that. And they can't wait to put the kids to bed a little bit earlier because they know, I can have a glass of wine as soon as these are sleeping and stuff.
And it all becomes about that bottle.
Yeah, and then, they're all on Facebook sharing pictures with each other, going, look at me, and everyone's smiling and everyone's looking fantastic and stuff and that, but if they took pictures of themselves at 11 o'clock at night before going to bed, they'd look a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think women will, they're more likely to talk to each other and other women about where men, it's really hard work getting men to open up.
We identified that quite early on in our podcast, didn't we? We just had a thought about it, and it's like, women are amazing at just
talking,
generally talking about themselves to other people.
Yeah,
and that's obviously we're trying
to break that stigma. Like I was talking to you guys earlier about this man shed thing that I tried to get going, and just getting something like that going. It was a no-starter because 3 guys turned up and it just all sat there like that. I said, start getting them to talk, and just sit there. And nothing was being said. So the idea of the men's shed is instead of being like this, 1-to-1, that someone's by your side, fiddling, doing something.
It's similar to a car journey, isn't it? Because you chat.
So because your mind is then occupied with what you're doing with your hands, then they open up a little bit more. That's the idea of it. So I've got quite a few things that I'd like to get going in the next few years. But at the moment, I'm still working as a builder, which I don't think that'll be for much longer.
Okay.
Due to the diabetes, it's kicking my arse a little bit. The closer I'm getting to 50, I'm doing more wear and tear than my body can repair at the time.
Right.
And being a type 1 diabetic, quite often I carry a lot of glucose, more glucose than you're meant to have, which affects all kinds of stuff. Eyes, kidneys, feet. My shoulders are my problem at the moment, being a plasterer as well. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So...
so you look to switch jobs, maybe?
Yeah. I will be switching jobs in the next few months, hopefully.
Yeah.
It takes its toll, doesn't it, construction?
It does.
Because I'm ex-plasterer.
Oh, yeah.
And Luke's electrician.
Yeah.
Med,
I was a chef.
Head chef.
Yeah. I've been told by 3 or 4 people that I've seen lately, physio and stuff, and said, "Oh, get out of the building game, mate. It's a young man's game." And what's happening with me? The collagen is getting eaten by the glucose. So the collagen is meant to be like that. She said, like elastic, but because there's too much glucose, it turns into like plastic. So everything stiffens up. My tendons are running out as well, apparently. So it's the wear and tear of.
Sounds like a good decision to
and
switch.
it's all because of the booze. If I stopped drinking many years ago, then I wouldn't be in the position I am now. I try and do I try and live a healthy lifestyle. I walk with a dog every day. We go wild swimming nearly every day.
Yeah.
I watch what I eat. I exercise. I don't really eat junk food and stuff and that, So I do try and look after myself. And even then, my body's struggling with it, yeah. So it just shows...
The damage
that it can do, even though 8 years after I stopped drinking, it's still having an effect on me,
Echo.
And because of the diabetes, there's a good chance it'll knock possibly 10, 15 years off my life expectancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the moment, I've not had any diabetes issues, but I know people who have, and I've seen what's happened to them and stuff.
Okay.
It's a very complicated disease to get your head around, because it's taken me a lot of time to get my head around diabetes. Because everyone thinks, you can't eat sugar, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's all about counting carbs. So a potato is worse to me than a cream cake. A slice of white bread is worse than a chocolate bar and stuff. So
have you got like some kind of monitoring device?
I did used to have one, but it used to give me false readings.
So do you inject yourself every day? And then do you do like any kind of pin prick thing? And then
finger prick, and then I take up to about 6 or 7 injections a day. So basically everything I eat, everything I drink, I have to compensate with insulin.
Constantly monitoring.
It's a pain in the ass.
Wow.
It sounds
it is a pain in the ass.
The wild swimming, what benefits are you getting out of that? Just quickly.
Well, the wife started off doing it, and I thought, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you.
So this is cold dips, like no wetsuits,
no
nothing
wetsuits,
straight in?
No. Okay. Not normally in my underpants. If we drive past somewhere, that looks nice, off we go. We're going to do it on the way home somewhere.
Amazing.
And I've seen the wife doing it, and she's got loads of autoimmune diseases, because she wasn't far off an alcoholic with me. She's 6 years sober now as well. Fair play to her.
Brilliant.
So I've seen her and a friend doing it, and then I just seen the benefits on them. And I thought, there's got to be something into this. So I've done my research. I've read about Wim Hof, and I've done this, I've done that. I've watched loads of things. I've read about the science about it. I thought, right, we've got to get into this. So my first time, I got up to my knees.
There's no, I don't do it before.
I'm not doing that. And then, so the second time, I got a bit deeper. And then after that, obviously, I got in. With moving house and stuff and that over the winter and that, we sort of missed a little bit, but in the last 3 weeks now we've been every day.
Have you?
And we've moved to Morven Evans, so we're literally 5 minutes from the sea, so we've been in the sea every day in the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
I reckon the sea's at about 6-7 degrees at the moment.
It's cold.
When I first got in, I got in for 2 minutes, and that was more than enough. We're up to about 15 minutes now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it does. You do get used
to
it.
Your body gets
conditioned.
used to it.
Yeah.
What it does is you've got all these little veins and stuff. So when you get in the water, all these little veins close.
Yeah.
And you've got all these little muscles around the veins that we never use because we're always covered up.
Yeah.
So these will open and close when you get in and when you get out. The more you do it, the stronger these get.
Yeah.
So when I get in the sea now, it's just these will shut off, and I'm just like, that's all right, that's okay. But where to start with, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
We went swimming yesterday, and there was one girl she'd never been in before, and when we were all in for a good 10 minutes, she was in and she was straight back out,
bet.
kind of things. Go, bloody hell, this is freezing. And we're all just floating about. They're going, this is all right. So it's mentally, physically, you use as much energy in the cold water for 5 minutes as if you would in a gym for half an hour.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I don't do any kind of, weights or working out or nothing, but I have definitely toned up in the last 3 weeks. Definitely, yeah. It does. It as soon as you get in, your body goes. It hits off adrenaline and all these kind of chemicals yourself, and then it burns fat really, really quickly. So it burn off white fat, but it'll create brown fat, which brown fat is really good for cognitive thoughts, helps you stay warm. It's something that as humans we're running out of because we just constantly dress up. Our skin is our biggest organ in the body, and we constantly cover it up. So if we're cold, we're always like this. If we're at home, the central heating's on. So you need to expose the skin to the cold, to the elements, to get the benefits. And yeah, definitely. As soon as I've been in for the next half an hour, once I get out, I feel amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Just buzzing.
I'm sold on this. I live like 8 minutes away from the sea as well. Just a short walk.
If you started with a cold shower, go have a shower. Cold showers are brutal, I think, getting in the sea.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather jump. Also, jumping in, I think, is better for me because you said the first time you got up to your thighs.
Yeah.
We all know that, like, getting past your piece is like the worst bit, isn't it? I just want to do like a David Hasselhoff straight in.
I've got to get in pretty quickly. Yeah, if the tide's out and I've got to walk a fair bit to get deep enough, then I won't bother going. We'll go and find another beach, or I've got one of these little Lumi pods in the house, little ice pod things. So I'll go and jump in that outside the house if it's too rough or if it's too windy or whatever. But we try and go. But if you just get in the shower, have a normal shower, and right at the end, all the way to cold.
Yeah,
start off at 10 seconds.
You're terrible.
You mentioned Wim Hof. I started watching his show with Gabby Logan on it. And during that period of time, every shower I took, I would turn off the hot water at the end.
Okay.
And I tried to increase time and time and time.
Yeah.
I just stopped doing it though. I don't know why. I'm going to revisit that.
Get in it. It's a good habit to pick up. But skin wise and stuff, I don't get cuts. No, I heal really quickly. But it's the mental is more because you've got to get over that mental
uncomfortable cold.
And if you can get over that and you think to yourself, well, I can do that.
I
can do anything. It's going to
I'm
start with.
It's putting someone out of your comfort zone basically as well, isn't it?
One of the words I try and use a lot in the ninjas group is like the aim of the game is to get you in a place where you feel unfuckable with. So basically, no matter what life throws at you, any situation, whatever, you can deal with it head on without having to resort to using drink or drugs to get you through that thing. So the mindset thing again. So the mindset of someone who's unfuckable with. So no matter what happens. So if I can get in the sea and sit in there for 10 minutes, in the middle of January, New Year's Eve, normal New Year's Eve would be, out partying until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We were sitting in the lake in Lancashire, and we actually got in the lake on New Year's Eve. Not midnight, but it wasn't far off midnight.
Oh, wow.
And it was, it was an experience when you think a few years back, it'd have been out partying and taking drink and drugs and feeling like shit for the rest of the year. Whereas we've started our new year going, wow, we were in the lake yesterday. And it's just little things. You've got to find different things to give you that pleasure kind
buzz,
of thing.
Isn't it?
Buzz,
Absolutely.
Because that's what the alcohol gives you. It's the buzz. But it's a fake buzz that'll last you, a couple of hours tops, and then you've got all the the hangover and everything to deal with after. But this is a good kind of buzz.
Brilliant.
That's fun. I guess that's why the AA stuff didn't really work for you, because you saw that guy and he's going like basically every day, and you're thinking, what's the buzz in that?
Yeah, it was I had to have closure.
Yeah.
I had to have a line where I can go, right, that was my life then. This is my life now. Right. Yeah. So that day when I went and looked myself in the mirror and said, right, I am Chris, and I'm starting just as Chris. No more alky, junkie, whatever.
No labels.
So from today on, I am just Chris. So I've left that part of my life behind me. I had a couple of counselling sessions, which didn't really work for me, because the guy who was giving me the counselling, he looked like he'd just stepped out of church. you know, he'd never had a drink before in his life. And I said,
No experience, no common ground.
What do you know about me? He's lying there having major withdrawals with spiders coming out on my feet and stuff, and he's looking at me like there's something wrong with me, you know. And I said, well, do you drink? And he goes, no. I said, well, do you take drugs? He said, no. Have you ever drunk? He goes, no. I said, well, what do you know about my life then, kind of thing? So, you know, don't get me wrong, there are obviously counsellors out there that are amazing.
Yeah.
But the guy that helped me out, he'd been there and done it himself. So, and every smart-ass question or answer I had, he had a better one back for me, which because you know, I can
that's what you need.
Can be a bit. So he was saying something to me, and I but blah blah blah, and he'd hit me back with an even better one. And I go,
touche.
Touche.
The tables have turned.
So it's just it's all about mindset. It's all about, to beat an addiction, it's all about, and all addictions work the same. So, you know, like I said, 99.9% of the population at the moment are addicted to something or other. Yeah. And the mobile phone is the explanation I give most people. And then,
that really hit home.
When he's trying to explain what addiction is, it's just like your phone's there and it's pinging all day long going, hello, answer me. And you know you can't. And you think, oh yeah, I could do that for 24 hours. But then when you realise you have to do it every day for the rest of your life, then, you know, that gives you some kind of scale of what addiction is all about.
Yeah. It's a hell of a good way to describe it.
It really
hit home.
Amazing. Yeah.
Clever.
I just want to say, mate, I am absolutely in awe of you, and I really I'm really inspired. I'm just going to take little bits home today, I'm going to start going in the sea again. I'm going to start getting cold. You know.
Yeah.
But just how you approach this is incredible.
Thank you. It has to be a positive experience.
Yeah, totally.
And I try, you know, like I said, I've listened to loads of podcasts, audiobooks and all this stuff. I'm a totally different person now to what I was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Totally different, black and white even. And I've evolved, shall I say, to a more spiritual, more rounded, more grounded, more connected person than I was before. You know, you think drinking, you know, with your mates, all this, you're so disconnected really from what is actually going on in life, you know, or what's important in life. So I try and focus more on important things in life now, you know, like making sure family and you know, spending time with the right people.
Definitely.
And I, you know, for the first couple of years I couldn't go near a pub. No way I couldn't go near a pub. Now I'm not bothered. I can go if I want, but I choose to not. Because it's full of drunk people, and they do my head in.
They are quite annoying when you're sober.
Well, you know, it's you can sit in a room with someone. Then first hour, great. Second hour, they'll tell you the same story again, but slightly different. And then, you know, by the end of the afternoon, everyone just keeps repeating themselves and just and it's and you can
same old thing.
You can see, you know, through it all. So it's definitely been you know, a game changer in my life. Well, I wouldn't be here today. Talk to you guys. You know, if I hadn't got sober when I did.
No, it's amazing.
Well, we're so glad. As well. We're so glad that you made this journey today. Yeah, and came and told us everything. It's incredible.
My pleasure. And, you know, doing
really
things like this. If my story helps one person,
exactly.
Yeah, just to maybe not even stop, or just to make them think.
Yeah, just to be aware.
Yeah, be aware. Am I drinking too much? You know, am I doing too much drugs? What effect is it having on my family, my life, my work, my children? The amount of children I've spoken to of addicts, you know, you'd be horrified at some of the stories they tell you.
I bet.
You know,
it's very real.
Yeah,
I feel like we're wrapping this up almost. I mean, we do usually end up with a couple of quick fire questions. I don't know whether
light-hearted ones.
Yeah, cool.
You happy with that? Are you happy with everything we've discussed? Is there anything else you want to talk about, or is there anything like we haven't touched on?
I don't think so.
It's a hell of a journey, mate.
It's
unbelievable.
It's been.
You should be very proud of yourself.
I am
definitely.
I bet you are.
You know, I look back. I don't very often do I look back, because I'm more about what's coming next. Yeah. But every now and again, you know, like on soberversities, or if I hit a milestone, I'm coming up to 3,000 days sober in a few weeks or something. You know, so on that day, I'll look back at where I've been, how you know, what I've done and stuff, and then I'll possibly make a little video and put it up on the Sober Ninjas group and stuff, which I try and do quite often, you know. And so it's knowing as well that, you know, my journey, me becoming sober has helped a lot of people.
Definitely.
And what makes me smile is, like, you know, the people in the group, they've made friends outside of the group.
Yeah.
So you get people like yesterday, Kelly drove up from Swansea to come up here, which is a 4-hour drive, you know, just to see another one over there, and said, "Oh, you're right by my house. All right, we'll all come." And then Dave said, "Oh, it's my 1 year soberversary. Oh, I'm coming as well." So he's driven from Blackpool just to come down, spend a couple of hours with us, and then driven back home.
That's awesome. You're doing a good job by the sound of it.
I also hold a thing called Soberfest, which is a little sober gathering of the group in September. And the first year we had it, we flew one in from America. So Amy came over from America. Last year, Carrie came from Norway on her own. Wow. Just told her husband, Crazy. "I'm going to go meet a bunch of people and go and camp in a field that I've never met before." So it's definitely a community. You know, you connect with people on such a more intense level than you do.
Real level.
Than if you're sitting talking to someone in the pub for the night, you know.
They've been through what you've been through, I suppose. So.
Yeah. Not to the extreme of me, a lot of them.
Maybe all, but
that's why I like sharing my story, so people don't have to go to the extreme, you know, because people say, "Oh, you need to hit rock bottom." You don't have to hit rock bottom. You just need to know someone who's been at rock bottom and look at them and think, right, do I really want to take it to there? Because that's what will happen, you know, or, you know, suicide and death. It can happen. Like I said, we lost one of the group last month, and she ended up committing suicide.
Sad. Really, really sad.
So, so people listening now, if they want to find you guys, where's the best place?
Have a look on Facebook for Sober Ninjas. Anyone's welcome. Just put in a request to join. It's a private group, so only what goes on in the group, the people in the group know what's going on about it. That's me with the Sober Ninjas. Also have a look for the Intuitive Recovery. Google it and stuff. Amazing course. I'd highly recommend it to anyone suffering with any kind of addiction. It literally changed my whole life in 4 days. It is amazing. Go to your local drop-in centres. You know, don't be ashamed of going in there. Ditch the shame. That's another massive one. You know, there's no shame in getting addicted to a highly addictive substance. You know, that's what alcohol is. It's a highly addictive substance. There's no shame in it. It's just that it's socially acceptable drug that nobody, you know, it's one of them.
It's absolutely everywhere.
Ask for help. That is the first step. You know, first step is admitting you have a problem, and the second step is asking for help. And there's lots of help out there. You know, what works for one doesn't work for other people. So there's Smart Recovery, there's AA, there's loads of communities all over the place. There's communities online. So just go and have a look. Or message me directly.
Cool.
Chris Rees on Facebook or Messenger, and I'll get back to anyone.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
You're a good man, Chris.
Yep.
Favourite film?
Ooh, wow. That's a good one.
Straight on the spot.
Forrest Gump.
Nice.
Belter.
We love Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, Forrest Gump is one. When I saw that the first time, I thought, wow, that's got to be the best film I think I've ever seen.
You know what, I might watch that tonight. I haven't watched that in a very long time.
It's a brilliant one. We're currently binging Walking Dead.
Oh,
I'd never watched it. Fuck.
What series are you on?
7.
Oh, you've gone past. Okay.
Yeah, coming towards the end of it.
Getting into like the weirder
territory. You've seen the baseball bat.
Yeah, it's all consuming. It's seriously, we've already planned out what happens at the end of the world, where we're going, where I can get a shotgun from. I know. Everything is like, wow. So yeah, we've been binging a bit on that, but I don't really watch too much TV.
No, it's good. It's always good. But Forrest Gump, what a film.
Yeah,
it's great.
Favourite chocolate bar?
Oh, for someone who's a type 1 diabetic,
that's a good point.
A lot of chocolate. It's got to be a flake.
Oh, okay.
Oh, messy, but good shout.
It's got to be a flake.
out the fridge or?
Oh, out the fridge, yeah.
Always out the fridge.
Yeah, definitely. Always keep the chocolate in the fridge.
Damn straight.
Yeah, I have to keep a few chocolate bars in the house, you see. No, this is my excuse anyway. Yeah. If my sugars go low, then obviously I need some sugar, don't
definitely.
I?
Of course
you do. So that's why I've got a cupboard full of sugar, a cupboard full of chocolate. But no, I do try my best to watch what I eat.
Okay.
But my only addiction at the moment is cake. I'd say, cream cakes.
Lovely.
I can eat a box full, knowing that I shouldn't be doing it. You know, when you're putting that second cream donut in your mouth, and you shouldn't be eating this, Chris. I know. So yeah, cream cakes are my downfall at the moment.
That's the one.
It's my next addiction to deal with. It's always one at a time. So I stopped drinking to start with.
Yeah.
Once I got that under control, I stopped smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
I've also had issues with other drugs as well. So a year after tobacco, it was cannabis. And then a year after that, no, that's it. So alcohol, tobacco, cannabis. Yeah. They're the three.
Now cream cakes.
And now cream cakes is the next one. Yeah, I think that'll be the most difficult out of a lot of them.
I think happy.
Yeah, favourite
Really
album.
happy.
Let's go with that. Or favourite
music,
artist
yeah.
if you can't think of an album.
Elton John is up there as one of my top.
Yeah. A lot of classics going on with Elton John, isn't there?
there is, isn't there?
A lot of good ones.
Yeah. Remember Ebony and Ivory and
Rocket
in the
Man.
Co-op?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Rocket Man.
What's he
gosh,
called?
yes.
One Piano Man.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
Yes.
Billy Joel.
Yeah.
He's on my favourites list at the moment. I
okay.
only just found Spotify about 6 months ago. Never heard of it. It's
great,
isn't
And my missus said to me, I said, why do you play everything on YouTube? I don't know. She said, have you heard of it? I don't know. I'm not very good technically, but I can build you anything.
Yeah.
To put a computer on, I've got no idea. So I've got I like listening to music and podcasts and books and stuff and that. So I don't watch a lot of telly
Fair
and
enough.
stuff.
No,
so
it's all good.
I like taking the
Great.
dog for a walk, put my headphones in.
Nice.
And same in work and stuff, you know, if I'm on work, I haven't got the radio on, I've usually got something else on, you know, and the lads are looking at me going, what the hell are you listening to now? And I'm listening about Buddhism or spirituality, this and that and stuff. So, I'm on a mission to learn. My first 40 years of my life was basically not a waste of space, but they weren't very productive.
Yeah.
I've achieved more in my 6 years of healthy sobriety than I did in the first 40 years of my life.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Amazing.
I'm sure.
Mud runs, tough mud. I did a 50-mile ultra marathon last year just to give one of them to the doctors. They told me by now there's a good chance I'd be in a wheelchair with my leg if I didn't take statins and steroids and that. I said, no, I'm not taking them, thank you. Oh, you'll definitely be in a... Oh, you... So, yeah, right, okay. So a friend of mine started a Penkin Ultra a few years back, and I did the trophies for him. I engraved them for him.
Nice.
And so after my health got better, I said, oh, what's the ticket for one of them? For you, for free. He said, right, I'm doing it. Wow. So the first time I tried it in 2019, I got 44 miles out of the 50.
Wow.
And my knee went on me. Out of everything I thought was going to let me down, my knee went on me because it was a lot downhill on the way back. So I was devastated and I didn't get my medal or anything. Then COVID kicked in. So there was nothing for a couple of years. And then last year I said, right, I'm doing it again. So I did it on my own, nobody with me, and stayed focused all the way and managed to do it.
Fair play. It's incredible.
Good effort.
21 and a half
Massive
hours.
effort.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was brutal. It's called Beautifully Brutal. So the only flat bit is the beach, which is obviously not easy to walk in sand. So you got the beach, then it's either like that or like that, all the way. So,
well done.
That was probably one of my biggest challenges, but I had to do it, you know.
Good.
And
Amazing.
now
Love
I've
it.
done it, it's like, right, what's the next?
Ticked it off.
Yeah, what's the next one?
Wonderful.
So always looking for that next challenge as well.
Yeah.
It's something to keep me focused on what's next.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Very good advice.
And it has to be something, I don't know, a bit extreme, a bit out of my comfort zone.
Nice.
I did a skydive last year because it's just something that was on my bucket list. Sorry. Sorry. I call it my
You still get the feeling sometimes of that weightlessness.
Yeah.
I get it sometimes, especially if I'm in an elevator. I know that's probably what everybody gets, but it sends me straight back to New Zealand. It sends me straight back to that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hated it.
straight out.
Did you?
I hated it.
My favourite part was when I got down to the bottom and I was so in shock and stuff. I couldn't walk and I was pissing myself laughing because I couldn't walk.
I threw up at that point.
Did you?
I almost did.
As soon as I landed, I almost did. Yeah. So
Hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And
My pleasure.
well done.
Thank you
for
very
everything you
much.
achieved.
Thank you
Incredible,
very
man.
much.
And
Just, hoping this goes out, that somebody will hear it and go, right, time to sort my life.
Yeah, and I really hope your community grows, in the healthiest way.
Yeah. It's still quite small, which
Yeah.
is nice because then I sort of know
Has to start somewhere.
everyone who's coming in.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's 2,000 members in there now from everywhere, from around the world. I think we're every continent. There's someone. There's even one from Antarctica. Seriously,
Wow.
Whoa.
and one of them is an actual ninja from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he is an actual ninja. I've seen pictures of him like this with his
Quality.
swords and stuff, and he's told me I'm an actual ninja. So it's great. Like, there's loads of other different groups out there as well. We're not for everyone, but if you're struggling, then reach out for help. There is help out there. Yeah, just bite the bullet and you won't
Do it.
regret it. I've not met anyone so far who regrets getting sober.
There we go. Yeah.
Great place to leave it, I think.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Chris.
My pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.